So I'm Beck Lane, and this is Catalyst and Company. Catalyst and Company, where we work at being the artists we've always wanted to be. And now I'm doing a live feed. Boink, there's the camera. Which and this morning I had other ideas. Last night I went to bed and I said you're going to get up early and you're going to go to the gym, which I haven't done in 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks now. Because my scooter broke down. And I didn't have that for almost a week and a half. And then the past few days, it's been really cold. But also, I've been really sad. Really, really, really sad. And a bit paralyzed. So even painting has been hard. I did make a decision earlier this week on Monday to really limit any interactions that I have because the interactions aren't helping. But I've been limited. I haven't really done hardly anything on Facebook other than post about Halo Arts Project, the auction there, where I have two paintings available. These are still dirty. I have two paintings available. They're up. They're on my YouTube channel. I've been doing shorts about them, and I've been doing shorts on YouTube the past few days. This week actually. I want to revive the channel, and revive how I present myself here. I have little interest right now in doing anything on Facebook and doing as little as possible on Instagram because of Meta, but also because they've just become, I mean, we've seen this since the beginning where they become platforms where people just yell at each other, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being talked at. I'm sick of being corrected. I am sick of the whole thing. I'm just sick to death of it. And it's driving, it's not, it's driving my depression and sadness, but it's crushing my soul. I'm tired of, like most of us, I'm tired of going into the world and having to argue about who I am and why I have a right to exist. Or have a thought that's my own. And we ended 2024, I ended it with a video talking about conformity. And it seems to be a theme that's coming up more and more and more as we move along, because we are experiencing a cultural conformity on a magnified level, and on a very intense, magnified national level. I've been dealing with it literally my whole life. I've never been the right person. I've never said the right things. I've never dressed correctly. I've never done this. You should do this. You should be that person. You should say this. You're not good enough, or you're not right because you don't do the things that we think you should do, or I think you should do, or whatever. My artwork, using my artwork, or pointing to my artwork, it fits into so many different categories. And it can relate to so many different types of people, actually all people, that, and that point is sometimes missed. And so it doesn't really fit in the right way. I don't understand it, but for some reason it's never quite right, but it is right, but it isn't. So I should paint puppies. So I've been dealing with that my whole life. As a person, you don't dress right, your hair isn't right, you don't look right, you should be prettier, you should be better looking, you should be thinner, you should be something else, you should be anything but what you are. Your thoughts aren't right, your words aren't right. And I have found, after 6 decades of this, I've learned that I am right. I'm considered wrong until I'm not. women shouldn't want this, girls shouldn't want that, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, and then all of a sudden I'm right. So I'm just sticking with me, and I'm not going to worry about whatever hammer is being thrown down at us. Or thrown down on me. It's particularly hard when the people around you are trying to hammer you down too into being someone or something else or doing some other type of work. But that's not going to change. The same people that are throwing down the hammer to get us to conform are also being beaten with hammers themselves to conform. So it's hard. It's really hard. It's disheartening and it's hard. But we've been here before. God knows I have been over and over again. And the one lesson I have learned is to not jump through the hoops, to not conform, not be. Sorry, getting some paint. Not do what everyone else is doing, not be the person that everyone, that some people are telling me it should be or whatever. Do the artwork that other people are doing. I don't know, whatever. Just don't. Just friggin' don't. It's exhausting. The lesson I've learned is you're never going to be right. You're never going to be the right type of person. You're never going to do the right artwork. So just continue doing what you're doing for your reasons. And you have to continue doing it consistently. You have to know your intent. You have to know your reasoning. And it can't just be to go against the grain. There has to be something deeper, there has to be something more, or it's unsustainable. So what I'm working on now is Thomas Doughton. Oh, I can't pronounce his last name. Doughton, Doughton. Doughton. He was he lived in Worcester, Massachusetts. In the early 1900s, and he was this is from a photograph by William Bullard, a photographer I'm absolutely obsessed with. William Bullard lived in Worcester, Mass, in a little section called Beaverbrook, which is now gone. It's been gone for decades. But William photographed his neighbors. He photographed everyone around him. So there was something like 5,000 negatives of photographs that he took. And I was to William through one little I saw on Pinterest like 10 years ago or so. And it was of Ralph Mendez, who William had photographed as a 5-year-old. Now, I couldn't find any notations on Ralph, so I didn't paint him until I knew who took the photograph and what this child's name was. It felt disrespectful, but it also, once I found out, it opened up a whole new world to me. I didn't want to do just a cute painting of this young black boy sitting on a stoop. Like, look at, I painted somebody black. Aren't I wonderful? Or look at how cute, which I find offensive, cute this little boy is. I find that really offensive. So I just kept looking, and then one day I found him. About 5 years ago, I found his name and the William Bullard portfolio. And I became totally obsessed, probably 5 years ago. I became totally obsessed with it. And so I've been building paintings off these photographs, using these photographs as reference material. And it's a recognition of a community that no longer exists, like so many black communities around the United States or around the world. There, I've had people for a long time telling me you shouldn't paint black this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't be interested in William Bullard, you shouldn't be interested in his neighbors. And I've been like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna be interested in what I'm interested in and continue doing the thing that nobody else is doing. Not to be like, I'm going against the grain, just because I find it really interesting. I also think it's important to acknowledge people whose existence was dismissed. So I've been told hundreds of times I shouldn't do this, and I've continued doing it anyway. There's just something in my heart that says you need to do this, you need to keep doing this. So I'm working on Mr. Thomas here. And actually, I just knocked over something. In back of this, I have 3 more paintings that are based on the William Bullard portfolio as well. Yeah, I have 3 on unstretched canvases, which is something I've become interested in. For some reason, I'm interested in painting on unstretched canvases again. And this has been, painting Poor William has been a bit of a struggle, has been painting at all lately. I love painting on like a Rain Man level. I love painting. Let's see if we can move this. You get a better look at my saggy sweatpants. Yeah, they're very attractive. But it's been particularly hard, and especially this week with the inauguration, accomplishing anything has been hard. But then this gnawing need to incorporate brushstrokes that kind of point downwards a little bit more, or go against the go sort of not but sort of go against. I've been ruminating on it all week. And so instead of going to the gym, instead of getting dressed and going to the gym, I just started working, and then I was working, I thought, well, we'll try doing another Facebook Live feed. Doing studio mate in another state, actually. Something we haven't done in a long time. Now I have been posting a lot of reels, or a few reels anyway. And one of the weirdest comments I got was, this is fake, this is all fake, meaning my artwork is fake. It's IA, or I don't know what that is. The comment. And I mention it because I oftentimes will think maybe I should rethink how I paint. Because they are large brush strokes, they are very deliberate. And they are very raw. And so I will sometimes think maybe I should go for a more realistic style. But then that's also a self-imposed conformity. So I'm not really willing to do it. And now, especially after seeing that comment, this is fake. Oh, I know what I'm caught on. Part of one reason that I paint the way I paint with the raw brush strokes, the deliberate brush strokes, the full intent behind the brush strokes. One reason is so that we're not just talking about the image, we're also I'm having a conversation with the viewer about how something is constructed. And the easiest way to show how something is constructed is by not making it this perfect, shiny, hyper realistic image. The image is so extremely important, like Mr. Thomas here. But if we're going to talk about painting, which is one of my intents in the work, then we have to show how a painter's mind operates in developing the work. And the light for me, something or other, the thing for me now is, as we've watched AI take over, literally take over, when I come back to my artwork, or buyers or whoever comes to my artwork, they can physically see that the brushstrokes have been done by a human being. So once again, I've been wrong with people telling me you should do this, you should do that. I was horribly, horribly wrong until I wasn't. Let's do this. Oh, less of my sweatpants, more of Thomas. So he is, even though I'm nervous today and I'm still feeling sad, and I'm going to feel sad for a long time, he is clicking a little bit more in my head, the colors, the structure. Is clicking a little bit more in my head because I'm somewhat going against the grain of what I've already done. Somewhat. And I've spent a lot of time with the reference material, so I pretty much know the photograph. I can't say inside and out, but pretty well. Because I started this in Georgia back in, I think I started it in late November. So it's odd that it's now February and he's not done. That's strange for me, but the cultural landscape has been taking up a lot of room in my head. So another suggestion, conforming suggestion was made to me 8 million times. Several years ago. You should make shorter videos. You should teach more. You should do this, you should do that. And I haven't. I've just stuck to what I do. And let other people worry about fitting through those or jumping through those hoops. And you and I will just come back here and to our little space in the corner of the world and do what we do. And let everybody else fight over who's painting the best puppies or making the shortest videos or being the loudest. Yeah, this has been a really tough week. Oh good, you're not getting a full view of the back end of my pants. Woo! So pretty bad, pretty saggy. But yeah, this has been a tough week. Oh, come on. Tough week and I'm not interested. I'm just simply not interested in people who need to conform, trying to get everybody else to conform. I'm not interested. They hold no value in my life other than they make me sad. We can scream all day long about how we've all seen this before, and the people that want you to conform the most are usually the most scared and don't know what to do, so they hop in line. So here we're going to paint, we paint our way. We paint our way, and we hold tight to our not our beliefs, but our understandings. And eventually people figure it out. As you can probably see, I'm trying to lock into a rhythm in the paint. It's something that has been difficult, but I can feel it kind of lightening up a little bit today, that anxiousness that I've had. One of the things that helps me the most in painting is taking off my glasses. I look, tired and old and blah, blah, blah. And again, I don't really care what people think. I just want to feel comfortable myself. I don't feel comfortable being saggy and old, but there we are. So I take off my glasses, and it does blur the image, but it allows me to have a sort of freedom. It helps me to bring a softness to whatever I'm working on. And someone actually asked me a few days ago, why do you have your palette so far away? It's seated just a few feet over in that direction. But it's so, I have time to think. It gives me time to think. Just taking a few steps away refreshes my thought process and refreshes, refreshes the thought process. But too, I'll go over there sometimes and just grab a color. I'll forget, I'll walk the whole 8 feet or 10 feet away, whatever it is, and forget whatever color I originally wanted and come back with something different. And then that opens the door to new gestures in the painting, new gestures, new patterns. So yeah, leaning away from Facebook as much as possible, leaning away from Instagram as much as possible. Everybody's all flutter over Blue Sky. I went on Blue Sky and had trouble logging in and gave up for a little bit, and then went back and tried again. And it's just more of the same. It's more people yelling into the void, so I'm not really interested. I think I'm going to stick with YouTube now for a while. Put the focus back here. Because this is where we started anyway. This is where we started 13 years ago. 12 years ago, rather, sorry. Years ago, before having a channel was a thing that you needed to do. Poor little pant leg. This is just awkward. I can see the reference material in my head, and I know that there are 2 folds in the pants, but now I've got to find a way for it to work without feeling contrived and awkward. So one of the things I've been struggling with, wait a minute, I'm talking to you. Okay, let's see. Yep, there's my really lovely sweatpants. Such a snappy dresser. So one of the things I've been struggling with, and one of the things I wanted to broach this morning, besides, well, along the lines of actually conformity and this hyper-conforming culture that we live in. Is, in a sec, how I am going to handle it. Down right around COVID, when everybody was scared of that idiot the first time, and all the nonsense coming out of the White House then, sales slowed down. People got depressed and sad and frustrated. So it's not going to be any easier this time because now he's got more money behind him. He's got all these ultra right-wing, conformist-driven or driving millionaires and billionaires around him who are telling him what to do. And of course, if you're holding a dollar bill, he jumps towards whatever you want. And if you look more powerful than him, he's both frightened and more willing to listen, in a way. If you have enough money, then he's willing to consider. Or acquiesce just a bit. Or follow directions like a good little dog. So what do we do with that? What do we do with that as artists? Especially when we know our purpose, we know our intent. And what do we do? What do we do with that? Do we become the people we believe other people want us to be? Do we produce the artwork we believe other people want us to produce? I mean, I've done it. I have done that thing over and over and over again, and it has not worked out on any level at all for me. It just hasn't. And so it's been a lifelong lesson of no, just no. Don't give in. Don't do it. Hold some value in the world. Hold some real value. That, again, it may not be accepted right now or understood right now, but hold that value. What do you have to lose? Besides your dignity. As an artist and what I do, how am I going to make this work? When I was in Georgia for the artist residency, it really hit me hard a couple times that although the wider world is saying don't do that thing that you're interested in or that you're really passionate about, not meaning just painting, but the images, the ideas that you have, don't do that. Do something else. Do something that makes me feel comfortable. Even though that's been kind of the messages of the wider world for the past 60 years of my life, it hit me hard at the artist residency that I in fact have gotten this year won 2 awards because I don't do what absolutely everybody else is doing. I ended up at this artist residency with artist writers who are being celebrated in a, sometimes in a national and international way with awards and being published. All these people because they're not following the crowd. They're not doing what's already been done. They're not listening to, as Ellen DeGeneres said, the loud voices. And they have gotten where they are because they listened to one voice, and that was their own. So it hit me really hard in Georgia why I was chosen to be there with these extraordinary artists and documentary makers and writers and, you know, performers. That I, in fact, was chosen because I don't listen to the loud voices and I don't conform. Because my heart won't let me. And I think too about the people that have bought my artwork. It's not because they're buying something that 8 million other people have done, you know, that millions and millions of other people have already done. They've invested in the work because they see the value. And it's louder because it's not an expression of what the world is telling them they need to have, or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to say something. So it hit me really hard, and actually at one dinner, at this one artist dinner, I'm sitting there with a what they call a top 3 published writer. That means that she's been published by one of the top, maybe top 2. 2 of them I know of, publishing houses. She's been on the New York Times bestsellers list. But I'm also sitting there too with community, like really big community leaders and organizers. And so I'm sitting there and we were talking about why we were all there. And some people felt they already knew why they belonged in the room. And then there were people like me who was like, wait a minute, I don't understand. I'm so used to being told that even as an outsider, I'm an outsider. They didn't understand. But it hit me really hard that I was in fact there because I was amongst peers. I was amongst people who have been told not to do their work, to do something else, to write stories that people would like, using subjects people would like better and that are trendy, and subjects that will help them disappear in time as well, as trends come and go. So we talked about it. It's really fantastic when people want to champion you. And I'm very lucky that I have had and do have people who want to champion me. Then there's another thing. To have somebody who's won an Emmy tell you your work is unbelievable and fantastic and how lovely you are. And not that I care what anybody thinks of me. But it's like, oh, wait a minute. I have a place in the world. It might not be in the wider world, or it could be one day. But that's not my business. My business is to create the work, as with you, as with any artist, is to create the work that you see, you feel is correct. That's our job. When I lived on Cape Cod, I thought my job was to be the best lighthouse painter that ever existed, whatever that means, so that I could get into galleries. So I tried painting lighthouses, and along with everybody else, every other artist on Cape Cod. And that got me literally nowhere. There were so many people repeating the same message. This is pretty lighthouse. So many people. This is pretty lighthouse. Look, I paint better lighthouse than everybody else painting lighthouses. I'm painting the same lighthouse as everybody else. Look how pretty mine is. I got lost. I got lost in all that noise. I was never deemed an insider on Cape Cod. I was never deemed the best lighthouse painter ever, or beach scene painter ever, or even one worthy of acknowledgement. So we've done that route. With my gallery firm, Paint Happy White Children, and we'll I don't know, we'll pretend we're going to feature you. That didn't work out. Paint landscapes, paint happy white children, paint this, paint that. There is a point where you go, no, I'm all set. I'm good. Because once again, it's conformity not working out to our benefit. Okay. So, in all my ramblings, just stick to what you're doing and ignore the loud voices. There we are. I'll tell you something. I have friends that have worked in museums and in museums, and who have been really, really famous artists. I have one woman I'm thinking of at this moment who has painted the same subject over and over and over again for probably 14 years. And one day she wrote me and she said, I wish I had the freedom to just paint what I want to paint. I'm sick of doing what I'm doing. I'm sick of it. And I hate that this is all I'm known for. And I'm like, yeah, but you chose to conform. You chose to jump through the hoop. You chose yourself. You chose this. I didn't put it this bluntly because I can't be mean to people. I can't be that mean. But she did. She chose to be that dancing dog. And I have chosen too, but thankfully, and I do say thankfully, the world rejected me the world rejected me in my artwork as being the best dancing dog on the planet. I am quite suspicious of people who want me around because I'm like, I must be doing something wrong. Doing something right and doing something wrong at the same time. So I'm not telling you all of this to say, look at me, how wonderful I am. I'm a rebel, I go against the grain. It's just, we're all trying to navigate this new horrible world as artists. And figure out how we're going to make it work. I have to sell artwork. I have to. Being the good dancing dog, doing as I'm told, hasn't worked out, so what are we going to do? We're going to stick with what we're doing. And going back to where for me, it's going back to where I originally found my audience, which was here. YouTube is where I found my community, but it was a long time ago, before algorithms took over. And Google started playing footsie with that gross thing in the White House now. But the focus appears for control over our thoughts and everything else is apparently going on Facebook and meta companies as well as TikTok. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just be here, like the quiet outcast sitting in the corner, throwing potato chips in our peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Eating quietly, like Ali Sheedy in the Breakfast Club. That's what I'm referring to, P.S. I'll hang out here in this quiet corner of the world where I talk all the time. Nobody can correct me or tell me to shut. You can turn the volume down, though. You're more than welcome to, because I know I yammer. So I have a lot of thoughts. So I've been able to get wood texture in the background and a little bit of steel texture. Can't quite get it here. I've been working on the wood texture here. But it'll work its way out. I'm not going to worry about it. What I'm really, you can't quite see it, but what I'm really had fun with was this wheel. This wheel was originally teal and blue, like the entire rest of the painting, except for him, where he had a lot of orange in him. But it was teal and blue, and then one day I had said, Carrie, with paint. So I went over to my little painting table, my palette, and grab a color and brush it on in something that the front of my head is saying, well, that's an inappropriate space to put that color in, and then, but another part of my brain is going, put it there and see what happens. And so that's what I listen to, is the part of my brain that says very quietly, go do this thing that you shouldn't do. It's kind of my entire existence. So that's what happened there. And as I was applying different oranges in different ways, you know, in thicknesses and thinness, and in different places, and went, oh my God, it's a rusty wheel. That's what it was trying to tell me. There's rust on that wheel. Although in reality there probably wouldn't have been. It would have been clean-ish. It just works. Look at it. It gives that orange, that rust feel, that accidental rust feel, gives that wheel, that train wheel, life. And it's also helping to pull the painting together as a whole. And somehow, and something I don't clearly understand, is that our minds are able to translate what's being said in the picture. We have the same colors in his jacket as we do in the wheel, as we do in the wood. They're the same colors, same repeated patterns. But our brain goes, oh no, that's a rusty wheel. That's a jacket. That's a boy's face, a young man's face. It's the same stuff over and over again. But somehow our head takes the color, the few colors that I've used, and we're able to understand what's being said. I guess it's the same in writing. The same words can be said over and over again, and yet we still understand. We can translate that something else is being discussed. It's kind of amazing. And, you know, while I've been yapping away, you've been watching me lift the painting up and down. I have 2 step ladders. I traditionally use step ladders, ladder back chairs, stools, and pieces of wood or boxes to bring my paintings up and down so I can see them in new directions, take them and move them at an angle, which you saw a few minutes ago. It helps me to think, and it helps me to find flow and balance a little bit easier. When I get really stuck, I'll take the painting and turn it sideways or upside down and see how it works in those directions. The flow, the coloring, does it feel stilted? Does it feel predictable? And then I try and erase it by putting the painting at a different angle than just up and down. What was I going to do? Oh yeah. Yeah, so this was Thomas Doughton in Worcester, Massachusetts, and Beaverbrook, Mass. Again, a community that's gone now, like many black communities, indigenous communities, that was erased. And I wonder what his life was like. I'm going to guess this kid is somewhere between 17 and 19 years old. How did he land this job? What got him there? You can see his strength. He, how proud, not how proud, kind of how proud, but how confident he was. How did he get that confidence? Where did it come from? In a world that was telling him, you don't belong. How did he find that? And what place did he hold in the community, in his own community, if he held a place at all? Anything of significance, or not? I would love to know about that as well. So I'm horribly interested in people who don't, oh wow, that worked out. Crazy. And I've always been interested in people who have been told, we don't want you, you don't, you're not the person, you're not one of the people here. We don't see your value. So how did he find his value? When the entire outer world was saying, we don't see your value, we don't want you to exist. How did Thomas find it? How did William, who took the photograph, find it? Do you know that William eventually killed himself? He lived with his mom until he was in his 40s, and then he killed himself. And I would like to know what gave him the strength. What drove him to take all these photographs? And what gave him the strength as a white man living in a very mixed neighborhood? What gave him the strength to say, I need to photograph my neighbors? You can tell when you're looking at William Bullard's photographs that it's not an axe to grind, or I'm going to go against society. It was just, he was a guy who loved to photograph people, who was untrained, went completely unrecognized, like our friend Vincent, like Frida. Like all the heroes we talk about here, not quite Alice Neal, because Alice Neal had Andy Warhol on her side when she got older, and Johnny Carson. But Kusama, all these people who went largely unrecognized until, like with William Bullard, he was dead. Frida Kahlo was dead when she became a something. Vincent van Gogh, long gone. They're all tragedies. How did they continue to do the work? I have a feeling with Vincent it was, well, I have nothing to lose. With him, he was already on the outside. Even with outsiders, he was on the outside. He had nothing to lose. He tried everything to fit in, our little Vincent. He tried being an organizer, he tried being a teacher, he tried so many different things. And he never fit in. And I think that's what really broke him. But when we look back, we're not celebrating the fact that Vincent was the best at painting dark pictures with, using master's techniques or old-fashioned techniques. He was using brand new paints that were constructed during his lifetime or developed during his lifetime. One of his favorite colors was Prussian blue, and Prussian blue was brandy ass new. Nobody else was really using it, not to his level, and then all of a sudden people went, oh, well, maybe if Vincent's using it, maybe I should too. But largely unrecognized. I have a feeling he just got to a point where he's like, well, I'm not winning anyway because I'm not painting dark landscapes, wintry landscapes. I'm not using old colors. I'm not painting like the masters. I have found my own way. So I'm going to sit in this little insane asylum room and paint the world my way. I'm going to paint my way. I'm going to be my own artist. Being the artist he always wanted to be. And I wonder if William Bullard experienced that as well. Untrained, unrecognized until he was gone. Even now, largely unrecognized. But I often wonder, did William think nothing to lose? Now to see William's full portfolio, or not the full portfolio, but to see a lot of William's work, William Bullard's photographies of the community around him, of Beaverbrook. You can go on the Worcester Art Museum site. They have quite a bit posted. I was fortunate enough to get a book. There was an exhibit several years ago at the Worcester Museum of Art. They own a lot of the negatives, and I had written. I had friends who were trying to get a hold of the art curator there, museum curator. They were trying to get me a show there, an exhibit of my work based on William Bullard's work. And that didn't happen. But they kept trying, and after a few months I just went, oh fuck it, I'm going to get a hold of the museum director myself. I'm going to stop being polite and sitting by the phone and waiting and just do it myself because nobody's getting anywhere. And so I wrote the museum director, sent her some samples, and she wrote back and was like, thank you, but no thank you, for whatever reason. Because museums, probably because it wouldn't bring in a big audience, I don't know, who knows, who the fuck knows. But she did send me the show book, the William Bullard exhibit book, which I have over there so I don't get paint all over it. The photographs are absolutely extraordinary, again, not just in content, but in technique. They're clear. And some of them are, the photographs are poised. They're very posed. And there are a lot where it's people in their homes or in William Bullard's home, but outside, outside their own homes. There's one of an entire class of Sunday school students that I want to replicate. And I actually did some images from that photograph. But yeah, so Sunday school, their homes, out playing in the park. There's one of a soldier, black soldier, in uniform, with his back up against a tree. And Mr. Bullard kept pretty good records of who he painted and when, so we can learn about them and him. And it's really interesting to see backgrounds used. I've done two paintings. I've done paintings of a brother-sister, Claude and Zenobia Clark, and they were posed in front of Mr. Bullard's mother's trellis, which I think is kind of cool. Individually posed. Claude is on a hobby horse, which is another one of my weird portfolios. And Zenobia was posed on a sofa. My phone keeps going on. I don't know why. I don't have any social media. It should be notifying me. Zenobia was posed on a sofa with a fur throw. But when I painted her, I didn't want to paint just a plain old, 19th century sofa. So I altered it a bit. So I altered it a bit. I gave the sofa texture and color that it didn't have. I used William's photograph as reference material, not to be exact about or exacting with. Down below here are, in this gravel, there were I've used a bunch of different, there's a whole lot of layers building up. But sadly, I ran out of color, the one color I really wanted to use. And I forgot to pick it up. When I was picking it the other day, I totally forgot. So it's no biggie. I'm mixing titanium buff with titanium white and Gamblin Artist Colors turquoise, which is a real dark turquoise. So we've almost got the same color, but two, I don't want to place the color down there and not bring it up through the figure, because it's going to feel wonky and off, and like this is a figure and this is the ground. I don't want that. We need the flow. This side of the room, the ceiling isn't quite high enough. Convinced myself multiple times at multiple stages that the painting was done. It really wasn't. But honestly, right now, today, I'm thinking he really almost is done. He was pretty contrived multiple times. As were the patterns and the colors. They were pretty contrived. I was trying so hard not to be. I was trying so hard to relax into what I do. My colors, my patterns. I was having a really hard time. We may have achieved today. There's a point in the painting. People often ask me how I know the work is done. There's a point in where my mind starts to relax. And suddenly there's almost an audible click. Like a latch on a door shutting. And so I can hear the door almost latching now in my head. And that is Mr. Thomas telling me that we're very, it's almost latched, it's not completely latched, but it's almost latched, which is Mr. Thomas telling me, you saw me back. And you've expressed me in a way that I'm comfortable and happy with. I know that sounds crazy, I don't care. could go in and futz with stuff up here, but I do like how it is in the background. It's not explicit. It's there, but without being there. Without being all, look at me. Well, sorry about that. Sorry, I just pointed my behind at you. All right, let's move this thing. Yeah, you're getting me in all my glory. Anyway. Yeah, this eye is still off. It looks like it's closed up at the end. Let's try one more thing. He looks like he's winking. Thomas. Poor Thomas looks like he's either winking or he has a facial paralysis problem. At least in the camera. Up close, not so much. Or actually in person, not so much. But we need it to translate. Oh, now he's got long eyelashes. Oh, Thomas. You know, actually in the reference material, Thomas's eyes are, in the original photograph, Thomas's eyes are way more wide open. But I just couldn't get the overall expression right with wide open eyes. It wasn't working. Let me check something. Poor kid. He's not suffering from facial paralysis. Or a tick. It looks like he has a weird tick. At least looking backwards in the camera, kind of a weird tick thing. Poor little Thomas. Poor Mr. Thomas, who worked so hard. In person, eye to eye, it's translating well. In reverse in the camera, not quite so much, so probably not in a mirror as well, which we know. I like to use mirrors a lot. His hip bothers me as well. It's a little too I have childbirthing hips, but honestly, in the reference material, Thomas did have a hip there, and it's probably because his pants were so bundled up and pulled together with a belt that it was over. So I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it true to Thomas, as true to Thomas as I can. I do want to try something. Nope. Facial paralysis got even worse. It's when you have one little brush stroke. Oh, poor guy. Nope. like I said, that latch sound, that latch feeling that I get when a painting is done, it's not quite there. Um, it's not quite there. And in reverse, I can kind of see what needs to happen, but I also have to look at the reference material to get that one or two brush strokes that's going to make his face fall into place. But right now I'm going to go eat my oatmeal. All right, so we just did a studio mate in another state. I talked your ear off, and hopefully you found something helpful in all the crap I was saying. Honestly, to round up, okay, let's stop looking at my sweatpants. Okay, let's keep looking at my sweatpants. I mean, really, to round it all out, we were talking about conformity and nonconformists and Vincent Van Gogh and blah, 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 and being told you should do this and you should do that, and the little boxes that we've tried to hammer ourselves into in the past, and how we're watching more of a drive for conformity now. Let's keep something in mind. We got nothing to lose. We've got nothing to lose in doing our work, not copying other people's. There's enough derivatives of derivatives out there. It's enough. It's enough. We have nothing to lose in being ourselves. We might lose close relationships. People get frustrated with us, but artistically, we have nothing to lose. What if Vincent had stayed not using Prussian blue and all these magnificent colors that came out of the Industrial Revolution while he was alive? What if our Vincent, our icon, the man we admire most on this channel, or one of the people we admire most, what if he had said, no, I'm just going to paint dark landscapes like absolutely everybody else? He tried. He didn't fit in. He tried. And people kept saying no and making fun of him and mocking him. He tried teaching. He tried being a minister. He tried being all these things that everybody in his life told him to be. He tried painting the work that people told him he should paint. He tried. And he was never right enough. He was never the right artist, never the right person. So let's hold him in our minds, in our hearts and in our minds, as we go through this period of even darker and more sinister and more aggressive you-shoulds. And people trying to hammer us into boxes. Again, with me, it was lighthouses, happy white children. I mean, the list is so long. The landscapes, the painting the things that everybody else is painting. People really hammered. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how hard people trying to hammer me into those little boxes. Not once in a while, not like once a year or once every, I'm talking week after week, sometimes day after day after day. It's exhausting. So let's do as Ellen DeGeneres said. All right, back when we liked Ellen DeGeneres, don't listen to the loud voices. You've got to listen to the voice in your heart that's driving you to do your work and do your work. That's how you become the artist you've always wanted to be. Let's have valor in our work and in ourselves. When the rest of the world cannot show respect for us, or a very, very limited amount of the world will show even a modicum of respect for us, let's hold respect for us. Let's hold respect for our work and our intents. All right? I could go on and on and on and throw punches at the wind, but and scream into the void, but I won't. I'm gonna go eat my oatmeal instead. How are we doing on hair? Ooh, okay. I'm gonna go shower. Thomas. And I'm gonna move on to the umpteen other projects I have going on. All right, I'm Beck Lane. This is Catalyst and Company. Thank you so much for being a part of the community over the past 12 years. Or not. Whatever. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Meow, meow, meow. Go do your work. Your work. You be you. More cliches coming out of my mouth. Ciao, 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 ciao. Ciao. Okay, where's the X? There we are. Boink. 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 Boink.